Do you ever stop to ask yourself why you do what you do? Not just what you hope to achieve, not just the goals you set on January 1st, but the deep reason that fuels your actions every day. Because when it comes to building lasting success, the place we start makes all the difference. And most people start in the wrong place. They start by setting targets. They start by chasing outcomes. They start with what they want. A promotion, a new house, a growing business. But when the excitement wears off, when the obstacles show up, when the easy momentum fades, so does their commitment. They had a goal, but they didn't have a reason. The lasting success, the kind that doesn't just flash for a moment, but builds into a life, a legacy, always starts somewhere deeper. It starts with purpose. It starts when you answer the hard, personal, sometimes uncomfortable question, why does this matter to me? Not why it's impressive to others, not why it will look good on a resume, not why it will earn a few claps or likes, but why, when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, you still care. Purpose acts like a compass. It points you toward the right direction, even when the road is foggy. Even when you can't see the finish line, because let's be honest, the path to any meaningful success is never a straight line. It's messy, it's uncertain, it's full of setbacks. If all you have is a what, a goal, you'll get lost the first time you fall. But if you have a why, you'll keep moving even when every logical part of you wants to quit. Purpose turns intentions into endurance. Think about the people who inspire us most. They didn't just set goals. They answered a call. They didn't just achieve something, they stood for something. Whether it was a leader rallying people to a cause, an entrepreneur reinventing an industry, or a teacher staying late after school for a struggling student. Their success wasn't born from ambition alone. It was born from clarity, from conviction, from a relentless commitment to something bigger than a finish line. When you start with purpose, the quality of your decisions changes. You stop asking, what will make me successful fastest? And you start asking, what will honor the reason I'm doing this in the first place? You stop cutting corners for quick wins. You start playing the long game, even when it's hard, even when no one notices, even when the rewards feel impossibly far away. Because when you're connected to your why, the process itself becomes meaningful, not just the prize at the end. It's easy to admire people who have built incredible things and think they were just lucky or brilliant or uniquely talented. And sure, talent and timing and luck all have a role, but the truth underneath all lasting success is much simpler. They knew why they started, and they kept returning to that why when things got messy, when the deal fell through, when the product launch flopped, when the critics came out, when the self-doubt crept in. Purpose isn't a shield that protects you from hard times. It's an anchor that holds you steady through them. When you know your purpose, setbacks don't define you, failure doesn't paralyze you, criticism doesn't derail you, because you aren't just chasing applause. You aren't just chasing profit. You are building something because it matters to you at the deepest level. And when something matters to you that much, you find a way, you adapt, you grow, you stay. Now, purpose isn't something you find in a day. It's not a slogan you slap on a vision board or a mission statement you write for the sake of appearances. Purpose is something you discover through reflection, through asking hard questions, through noticing what makes your heart beat faster, what you're willing to struggle for, what you're willing to lose sleep over. And once you find it, you have to fight to keep it close. In a world that constantly pulls our attention towards shiny distractions, followers, status, awards, staying grounded in your real why is a discipline. It's a daily decision. You don't need a grand purpose that changes the whole world. You just need a real one that changes your world. Maybe your purpose is to create a better life for your family. Maybe it's to bring more creativity into an industry that feels stale. Maybe it's to serve a cause you believe in with everything you've got. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be true. When you start with a clear purpose, everything else follows. Your strategy becomes sharper, your relationships become stronger, your reputation becomes more authentic, your resilience becomes more natural. Success stops feeling like a frantic race and starts feeling like a meaningful journey. And here's the best part. When you build success on purpose, the success itself becomes sustainable. Because it's not just about reaching a peak. It's about creating something that lasts beyond you, something that makes a difference even after you're gone. So if you want to build lasting success, don't start with goals, start with purpose. Find your reason. Hold it tight. Let it guide you when the road is clear. And especially when it's not. Because the world doesn't just need more successful people. It needs more people who are successful because they stood for something that mattered. When we talk about success, it's tempting to focus on strategies, on tactics, on measurable results. It's tempting to believe that if we just work hard enough, learn fast enough, hustle long enough, the outcomes will take care of themselves. But there's something deeper that drives true lasting success. It isn't found in numbers on a spreadsheet. It isn't captured in quarterly reports. It lives in something less tangible but far more powerful: relationships. Now, we like to think that success is a solo journey, that it's about individual grit, personal genius, relentless ambition, and while those things have their place, they are never enough on their own. The truth is, nobody builds anything great alone. Nobody. Every lasting success story is a story about people, about trust, about loyalty, about human connection. When we prioritize relationships before results, we aren't being sentimental, we're being strategic. Because results are fleeting, they come and go. Markets change, trends fade, awards gather dust. But the bonds we build with people, real, meaningful bonds, those endure. Those become the invisible architecture that holds everything else together when things get hard. And they will get hard. Think about the leaders you admire most. The mentors who shaped your path, the friends who showed up when you were struggling, the colleagues who believed in you before you believed in yourself. Their impact wasn't about what they achieved, it was about how they made you feel. About the trust they earned, not demanded. About the loyalty they inspired, not manipulated. Success rooted in relationships is resilient because it's human. It's built on something deeper than contracts or commissions or quarterly targets. It's built on trust, and trust is the currency of every lasting achievement, including relationships before chasing results. Means slowing down in a world that constantly demands we speed up. It means taking the time to listen, really listen, when it would be faster to move on. It means investing in people when there's no immediate return. It means believing that the person sitting across from you is not just a resource, not just a means to an end, but a human being with dreams, fears, hopes, and dignity. It's easy to build connections when everything is going well. It's easy to show up when the project is succeeding, when the campaign is winning, when the world is clapping. But real relationships are tested in the in-between spaces. In the disappointments, the disagreements, the moments when showing up is inconvenient and hard and messy. That's when loyalty is built. That's when trust is forged. That's when leadership shows its true colors. You can't fake genuine relationships. People can feel the difference. They can sense when they're being valued for who they are versus what they can do. They can tell when you see them as a partner in the mission or just a pawn on the board. And here's the irony. When you prioritize relationships first, the results often follow faster and stronger than you ever imagined. Because when people feel seen, heard, respected, they give more, not because they have to, but because they want to. They bring their creativity, they bring their resilience, they bring their best selves. Not out of obligation, but out of belief. Relationships built on authenticity create teams that innovate, businesses that grow, and communities that thrive. They create cultures where people stay when others leave. They create loyalty that no competitor can easily steal away. And loyalty isn't just a nice to have, it's an economic advantage. It's the difference between weathering the storms and crumbling under pressure. When you prioritize relationships before results, you're planting seeds that will grow long after the immediate harvest is gone. You're investing in trust that will carry you through the seasons when success feels out of reach. Because there will be seasons like that. There will be setbacks and dry spells and moments when every metric tells you that you're failing. And in those moments, it's not the flashy strategies that save you, it's the relationships. It's the people who say, I believe in you, when you're struggling to believe in yourself. It's the team that stays and fights when it would be easier to leave. It's the customer who says, I'm with you even when you mess up. We live in a world obsessed with results, obsessed with metrics, obsessed with performance. But real success, the kind that sustains over decades, doesn't come from treating people like numbers. It comes from treating people like people. Relationships require patience. They require vulnerability. They require showing up not just with competence, but with heart. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's about admitting when you're wrong, about celebrating other successes even when you're struggling, about offering grace when mistakes are made, because in the end, it's not the awards or the titles or the profits that people will remember. It's how you made them feel. If you want to build lasting success, start by building real connections. Invest in people before you invest in processes. Listen before you lead. Serve before you sell. Because relationships aren't just part of success, they are the foundation of it. We are wired for connection. We are built to belong. And when we work from that truth, when we lead from that truth, we don't just create results. We create movements. We create legacies. We create something that matters. Success measured only by outcomes is fragile. Success built on relationships is unstoppable. Because no matter how the world changes, no matter how the markets shift, no matter what challenges come, trust and loyalty remain. Choose to build that kind of success. The kind that lasts, the kind that's fueled not just by what you achieve, but by who you lift along the way. Because in the end, relationships are the real results. There's something incredibly intoxicating about intensity. We love the grand gesture, the overnight transformation, the story of the person who sprinted ahead in a blaze of glory. Intensity feels powerful, it feels dramatic, it feels exciting. But here's the quiet truth that too often gets overlooked. Lasting success isn't built on moments of intensity, it's built on a lifetime of consistency. Consistency is boring. It's not flashy, it doesn't grab headlines, it's showing up when no one is watching. It's doing the small things right over and over and over again. It's committing to the process long after the initial excitement fades. Anyone can be intense for a moment. Anyone can sprint for a short burst, but it's consistency that carries you across the finish line. Think about the people you admire, the ones who have built something that stood the test of time, the leaders who stayed grounded through storms, the companies that didn't just launch with a bang but grew steadily year after year, the artists, the teachers, the athletes who kept honing their craft when it would have been easier to coast or quit. That their success didn't come from a single moment of brilliance. It came from thousands of ordinary moments stacked one on top of the other. It came from a relentless commitment to showing up even when they didn't feel like it, even when the payoff wasn't immediate, even when no one else seemed to notice. Consistency isn't glamorous, but is transformational. It's the discipline to do the right thing today and tomorrow and the next day without guarantee of applause or recognition. It's trusting that the compound effect of those small choices will add up to something extraordinary over time. Intensity wants results now. It demands immediate returns. But real growth doesn't work that way. You don't get fit after one hard workout. You don't build trust with one grand apology. You don't create mastery after one brilliant idea. You grow stronger by showing up to the gym on the days you'd rather stay home. You build trust by keeping promises in the small moments, not just when the stakes are high. You create mastery by practicing the fundamentals, even when it feels tedious. Success favors those who understand that small things become big things, that today's seemingly insignificant choices are laying the bricks for tomorrow's breakthroughs, that every day you show up, every day you stay committed, you are casting a vote for the kind of future you want to create. There will be days when it feels like it's not working, days when progress is invisible, days when quitting seems logical, even reasonable. Intensity screams at you to find something new, something easier, something faster. Consistency whispers, stay. Consistency says, trust the process. Consistency reminds you that greatness isn't an event, it's a habit. It's easy to look at someone else's success and see only the highlight reel. We see the championship game, not the hours of practice in empty gyms. We see the bestseller book, not the lonely nights rewriting the same paragraph over and over. We see the thriving company, not the years of quiet hustle, the rejected pitches, the sleepless nights spent wondering if it was all a mistake. We see the intensity of their moment of arrival. What we miss is the consistency that carried them there. Consistency requires humility. It demands that we give up the need for instant gratification. It asks us to believe in a future we cannot yet see. It calls us to be faithful stewards of the work today, trusting that the fruit will come tomorrow. Or maybe even the tomorrow after that. And here's the beautiful thing. When you build your life on consistency, you create a foundation that can survive the storms. Intensity burns bright but burns out fast. Consistency, on the other hand, builds roots. It creates resilience. It prepares you to weather seasons of drought and disappointment without losing your way. When you prioritize consistency over intensity, you stop chasing every shiny object. You stop jumping from one strategy to the next, hoping the next big thing will be the thing that finally works. You stay true to the process. You refine your craft. You deepen your relationships. You keep your promises, especially the ones you made to yourself. Over time, consistency creates confidence. Not the fake, loud confidence that's all talk, but the deep, quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've done the work. That you are becoming the kind of person who can be trusted by others and by yourself. And here's something even more powerful. Consistency multiplies. The longer you stay committed, the more your efforts begin to compound. What once felt like slow, invisible progress starts to accelerate. Opportunities find you. Momentum builds. And what once required every ounce of your willpower becomes second nature. But it all starts with the choice to stay, to show up, to take the next right step, even when the results aren't immediate, even when the progress feels painfully slow, even when intensity seems far more attractive. Anyone can sprint for a season. Few are willing to run the marathon. But the ones who do, the ones who show up day after day with humility, with perseverance, with faith, they are the ones who build something that lasts. So if you want to build lasting success, don't just chase moments of intensity. Commit to the daily practice of consistency. Be the one who keeps showing up. Be the one who keeps doing the small things well. Be the one who plays the long game when everyone else is looking for shortcuts. Because in the end, success isn't a result of one big moment. It's the sum of every small, consistent decision you make along the way. And those small decisions, they're not small at all. They're everything. Failure. It's a word we're taught to fear from the time we're young. We're told to avoid it, to minimize it, to hide it when it happens. We grow up believing that failure is the opposite of success, that it's a sign we aren't good enough, smart enough, talented enough. But the truth is much deeper, much more powerful. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's a necessary ingredient of success. It's not something to be feared, it's something to be embraced. If you study any lasting success story, in business, in sports, in science, in life, you'll find a pattern. You'll find people who failed, not once, not twice, often again and again, but they didn't stop. They didn't see failure as a reason to give up, they saw it as a reason to learn. Because failure handled right isn't a dead end. It's a doorway, it's a teacher, it's an asset. The problem is, we live in a culture obsessed with winning. We reward outcomes, we celebrate victories, we showcase achievements. And so when failure happens, as it inevitably will, it feels like something shameful, something to hide, something to pretend didn't happen. But when we hide from failure, we hide from the very thing that could transform us. The people who build lasting success don't just tolerate failure, they mine it for lessons. So they ask the hard questions. What did this teach me? Where was I blind? Where did I assume too much, prepare too little, rush too fast? Failure shines a light on the gaps we couldn't see when everything was going well. It exposes our weaknesses, not to shame us, but to strengthen us. If we're willing to pay attention Failure has a way of stripping away our illusions. It humbles us, it grounds us, it forces us to confront the uncomfortable parts of ourselves, the arrogance, the impatience, the shortcuts we thought no one would notice. And as painful as that is, it's also how real growth happens. Not through comfort, not through easy wins, but through failure that refines us, that reshapes us, that invites us to become better than we were before. When you see failure as an asset, you stop fearing it. You stop avoiding risks that might stretch you. You stop playing small just to stay safe. Instead, you start leaning into challenges. You start taking bigger swings. You start embracing the uncertainty of the process, knowing that even if you fall, you'll rise stronger. You realize that every failure carries within it a seed of wisdom if you're willing to do the work to find it. Failure teaches resilience, it teaches perseverance, it teaches creativity. Some of the most brilliant innovations we celebrate today were born from mistakes, from experiments that didn't work the way they were supposed to, from people who were willing to ask, what if, when everything seemed to point to no. Think about it. If everything went perfectly the first time, how would you ever learn adaptability? How would you ever discover what you're truly capable of under pressure? How would you ever build the kind of grit you'll need when the stakes are even higher? Failure has another gift too. It builds empathy. When you've fallen and gotten back up, you are slower to judge others. You're quicker to extend grace. You become the kind of leader, the kind of friend, the kind of teammate who creates spaces where people feel safe to try, to stretch, to grow, because you know firsthand that failure isn't weakness, it's part of the journey. It's important to understand embracing failure doesn't mean celebrating mistakes for the sake of it. Doesn't mean being reckless. It doesn't mean refusing to learn. It means refusing to let failure define you. It means choosing to define yourself by your willingness to get back up. It means seeing every setback not as a verdict on your worth, but as feedback on your process. And feedback, when we listen to it, is one of the greatest gifts we can receive. When we fail, the easy response is to blame the market, the team, the circumstances. But growth happens when we take ownership, when we ask, what can I control? What can I change? How can I be better next time? That posture, a posture of humility, curiosity, and responsibility, is the foundation of every lasting success story. And there's a paradox here that's easy to miss. The people who look most fearless aren't the ones who have never failed. They're the ones who have failed so many times that failure doesn't scare them anymore. It doesn't define them. It doesn't limit them. It liberates them. When you embrace failure as an asset, you free yourself from the tyranny of perfectionism. You free yourself from the crushing weight of unrealistic expectations. You give yourself permission to try, to learn, to evolve. And over time, that freedom compounds. It fuels your creativity. It fuels your resilience. It fuels your courage to tackle bigger and bolder dreams. Failure doesn't feel good. It stings, it humbles, it frustrates, but it also purifies. It sharpens. It clarifies. It burns away the distractions and reveals what matters most. And if you let it, it will push you closer to the person you are meant to become. So if you want to build lasting success, don't run from failure, welcome it. Learn from it, let it shape you. Because failure isn't the enemy of success, it's the training ground for it. And every time you choose to rise after you fall, you're writing a story of resilience, of growth, of courage. A story that will not only shape your success, but inspire others to chase theirs too. There comes a point in every journey where the grind wears you down, where the late nights start to feel heavier, where motivation alone just isn't enough. And it's in that space that something powerful is revealed. The difference between those who chase a goal and those who follow a vision. Because goals can fuel effort, but only vision fuels endurance. Success that lasts is not sustained by what you want for yourself, it's sustained by what you want for something bigger than yourself. So we all want to be successful, to achieve, to grow, to build. But if the only reason you do what you do is to get something for yourself, more money, more recognition, more validation, eventually it's not going to be enough. That kind of success burns fast. It burns bright, but it burns out. Because you can only push for so long when the mission ends with you. But when you lead with a vision that's bigger than yourself, everything changes. Your work becomes meaningful. Your efforts feel purposeful. Your resilience becomes deeper. Because now you're not just doing it for the win, you're doing it for the impact. You're doing it because you believe the world needs something that doesn't exist yet, and you're willing to help bring it to life. There's something deeply human about wanting to be part of something greater. We are wired for purpose. We are wired for meaning. And when our work aligns with a vision that stretches beyond personal success, we come alive, we push harder, we last longer. We rise after failure, not just because we want to succeed, but because we believe we must. Because we're carrying something forward that matters. A vision that's bigger than you doesn't come from ego. It comes from service. It asks, who can I lift? What legacy can I leave? What future can I help create? It's not about what you can extract from the world. It's about what you can contribute. And that shift, that reorientation, is where real leadership begins. Leading with vision is not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to pursue a future that doesn't exist yet and inviting others to join you in building it. It's about casting a picture of what could be, even when the present makes it hard to believe. And it's about anchoring that vision in something that gives people a reason to care, a reason to show up, a reason to stay even when it's hard. When people feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves, they give more. Not because they're told to, not because they're paid to, but because they want to, because they believe. They bring their best ideas. They bring their full selves. They fight for something that matters. You don't need to be a CEO to lead with vision. You don't need a title or a platform or a large audience. Leading with vision starts when you decide to stand for something, when you choose to care about more than just your own success, when you use your influence, no matter how small, to inspire belief in what's possible. And that kind of leadership is magnetic because in a world full of noise, people are desperate for clarity. In a world full of pressure, people crave meaning. In a world full of self-promotion, people are hungry for authenticity. And when they see someone leading not for the spotlight, but for a purpose, they pay attention. They listen, they follow. The beautiful thing about vision is that it creates direction even in chaos. It becomes your compass when the road is unclear. When challenges come, and they always do, your vision keeps you steady. It reminds you of the why behind the what. And when that why is strong enough, the how begins to reveal itself. People will doubt you, they'll question your path, they'll ask why you care so much. But the ones who build things that last, they're the ones who keep showing up, not because it's easy, but because the vision matters more than the discomfort. The most meaningful visions are often inconvenient. They require sacrifice. They demand persistence. They stretch your limits. But they also expand your impact in ways you never imagined, because when you focus on something larger than yourself, you start to unlock something in others. You start to awaken belief. You start to create momentum that multiplies. And that momentum doesn't stop with you. It outlives you. That's the real measure of lasting success. Not just what you achieved, but what you set in motion. Not just what you built, but who you became while building it. Not just the applause you received, but the lives you touched along the way. That's what vision does. It lifts the whole. We don't remember the leaders who made the most money. We remember the ones who made us feel something, who gave us something to believe in, who reminded us that we could do more, be more, give more. We remember the ones who chose to build something that would matter long after they were gone. So if you want to build lasting success, stop asking what you can get. Start asking what you can give. Stop chasing results. Start casting vision. One that brings people together, one that solves a real problem, one that makes the future brighter, even just a little. Because when you lead with a vision bigger than yourself, you create more than success. You create significance. You create legacy. You create change. And that is what truly lasts.